Hey guys, what is up? This is DJ Cade back once again, this time truly like a Renegade Master, because this is going to be one of the most interesting off-meta tournaments that you guys have seen yet, I promise you. So in my last video, I taught you guys how to use the custom rankings to create your own meta on PvPoke, and I taught you guys how to use the custom moveset overrides at the very bottom of the page. And what I did is I applied it to the Ghostbusters Cup meta. I selected a few Pokemon that I thought could use some moveset improvements, and I added those movesets. And if you guys saw my last video, you'll know that I made an incredibly shocking discovery at the end about how powerful Furret can be in this meta. And the reason I wanted to do this is because nobody was talking about Furret. Like, not a single person on that forum, on the discussion forums for this cup, mentioned Furret, and I just thought to myself, I have to try using Furret. I have to see if he can be effective in this meta, if he's going to be able to counter a lot of teams. And so why don't we take a look at Furret real quick, because like, if the thumbnail didn't give it away, he's going to be the star of my team for this tournament. So let's take a look at some of his matchups. Right away, he's got really good matchups against Alolan Raticate with those Brick Breaks. He can hurt Dusclops by barrel with that water gun. Like, if people invest in that by barrel for that water gun, we'll be able to take that out with the Brick Breaks. He's going to be able to barely beat Frostlass under the right shielding situations and other things, but still has a positive matchup, and then even beats Delcatty, another sleeper pick for the tournament that was a really expensive one, but one that we can counter with Furret nonetheless. But let's just take kind of a general look down the list here and see what we could beat. Dusclops, Furret is not really listed as a key matchup or a top counter for Spiritomb, but he can still do very well with that dark type attack. It's going to be a lot better than having a ghost type attack against Spiritomb, and if you hit with the dig, it can still do incredible damage. Dunsparce might give him a little bit of trouble with Rock Slide, but still he's going to be able to get to the Brick Breaks a lot faster than Dunsparce will be able to get to any of his moves. He's going to have a positive matchup against Munchlax, because Munchlax is going to be running the Lick in this meta. Ursaring might be kind of a weird pick against Furret. Like, Ursaring is kind of a pseudo Vigoroth, just with very, very slow charge moves. So, I mean, Ursaring could put in some work against Furret, but I really don't predict that I'm going to see too many Ursarings in this meta. It's just not something we've had to evolve or level up for any other cup, and I just don't think a lot of players will have him in this case. But again, Snorlax, he's going to be able to counter Snorlax. He's going to be able to counter Zangoose, whether he's got Fury Cutter or Shadow Claw. Marowak might give Furret a problem if he has the Rock Smash, but I don't think Marowak is going to be running Lick in this meta, but it does come out to be a fairly close match between these two if we run the simulations. He's going to be a really good hard counter to Haunter. The only thing we have to watch out for is the Sludge Bomb, but look at this. I mean, he's giving us positive matchups against just a ton of different Pokemon here, and Drifblim obviously got knocked down the rankings because of the other custom rankings and custom movesets that we added to certain Pokemon, but he'll be able to do really well against Drifblim too, and just about every other ghost type that we have. Misdreavus, Dusknoir, and although Dusclops is very high up in this meta, he's still going to be able to do lots of damage with that Sucker Punch before Dusclops can really do a whole ton of damage with those elemental punches. Dusclops wasn't really used commonly in this meta. I didn't see a lot of people talking about him, so I thought to myself, what is really going to threaten Furret as far as like a lead or a switch in, and I thought the only few things that could really threaten the Furret was going to be Vigoroth and Noctowl, and some of the other bird like Noctowl clones, and maybe Ursaring, which I didn't think would be a top counter. But what I'd like to do for you guys is give you an idea real quick of how fast Furret is in this meta with that Brick Break, that thing that people actually weren't expecting it. I'm going to give you a little spoiler. A lot of people were not expecting the Brick Break from Furret. Most people were actually expecting just the dig exclusively, but I thought, you know, Sucker Punch is actually a decent move as far as energy generation. It's not like in the top tier of fast moves by any means, but it's actually pretty decent. So I thought, why don't we compare him to one of the fastest Pokemon that I know of, Vigoroth, because if anybody can outspeed a Pokemon, it's going to be Vigoroth with that counter and that body slam. So let's see how fast Furret is to the Brick Break. And as you can see, even though this is a losing matchup according to the Sims, he can reach a Brick Break at the same speed that Vigoroth can reach those body slams. So that's incredibly fast. That's going to be able to put shield pressure on the matchups that Furret needs to be in and some of the other key matchups. So why don't I show you some other things real quick about how fast Furret is and why I really wanted to use him. So why don't we pit ourselves against Alolan Raticate? Let's see how fast he is versus that. And as you can see, check this out, I still get knocked out just because that bite does a ton of damage. But the thing is, if I expend even one shield, I can win this matchup because I can get to 2 Brick Breaks before he can even get to a single charge move with that bite. I mean, it's going to take a little bit of damage, but like, I mean, if he wants that Raticate to survive, he's going to have to commit 2 shields because, you know, if I shield that first charge move from him, I'm going to be able to hit him with another couple Brick Breaks before he can get to the second one. That's just a ton of shield pressure on Raticate, which is an absolutely incredible Pokemon in this meta because of his ability to just shred through those ghost types. Or how about Delcatty in this case? Another Pokemon that was kind of a sleeper pick and one that a few people did invest in for this tournament. How is he going to be able to fare against that charm damage? Well, if we run the simulations, he does lose this matchup, but keep in mind, we have no shields selected on this. So what this means is that, again, if we shield at least one charge move from Delcatty, then that Delcatty is going to have to either expend 2 shields or let it die. And if we can get in a situation where we can force the opponent to expend 2 shields on their Delcatty, you know, that's going to put us in a positive situation. It's going to put us up 1 shield. So again, I felt this was a really positive matchup for Furret and something that would counter another sort of off-meta pick for this cup. And just for kicks, I'm going to pin him up against Bibarel as well with the Water Gun and the Hyper Fang and Surf. And as you can see in the no shield situation, we are going to win this one as well. Bibarel is going to get to that Surf just a little bit faster than some of our other Sims that we've ran, but we're still going to be able to apply so much pressure with those Brick Breaks that it's not going to be a positive matchup for Bibarel. So with all this being said, you guys, like I looked at this from every possible angle. What could beat Furret? What Furret is good against, which is a lot in this meta, and I came up with this strategy. Furret lead every single game. And yes, you guys are seeing my lineup correctly. All I have listed on the side are going to be Furret, Vigoroth, Frostlass, and sometimes Noctowl, because for this tournament, spoiler alert guys, I did not use my Alolan Marowak at all. I basically kept him there just for bench pressure and just for a little bit of mind games to put that pressure on the opponent that he is a very hard counter to Vigoroth. Maybe would actually deter some opponents from bringing Vigoroth. Spoiler alert, it didn't. but I felt it could still be a help to us anyways, especially because we already had this one powered up from my very first Kingdom Cup tournament, and all I had to do was throw one fast TM onto Alolan Marowak, and that was all he needed to be ready for this cup. So I figured I could include him in my lineup because he is fairly strong against that Vigoroth. And also another spoiler, you guys probably noticed that Drifblim is not a Drifblim, and it looks a little bit weak. Well, that's because I decided again that I wasn't even going to use Drifblim in my strategy. Not at all. So what I did is I just completely bluffed it for bench pressure. I just decided because it is such a strong counter to Vigoroth, maybe once again it would deter Vigoroth from coming into battle, and once again, it didn't. And also the Drifblim bluff was just a matter of me wanting to save Stardust because, you know, this is an unranked cup, so I really don't want to invest a whole ton into it, especially if, you know, we're not going to get any ranking out of it, and the Pokemon isn't really going to be too terribly relevant outside of this cup. But again, we gave it a shot, and we still did really well with this team. So what is my strategy exactly? Well, like I said, I'm going to lead with Furret every single game because he just has so many good matchups in this meta, as I showed you in the beginning of this video, and I was just really excited because I thought, you know, maybe I could catch a lot of ghost type leads. I could give myself the switch advantage right away, and in the event that the opponent would happen to bring in either a Vigoroth or a Noctowl to counter my Furret, then I thought what I could do is immediately switch into my own Vigoroth, and if I had a situation where I had to be the one to switch first, then I could bring in that Vigoroth, and that would leave the opponent with pretty much no choice but to bring in a hard counter to Vigoroth, which still Vigoroth is going to have really good matchups even against its hardest counters in this meta. So I thought we could switch into Vigoroth, and if we got like one or two fast attacks, some counters before the opponent switched into their Vigoroth to counter mine, then that would put me at the lead in terms of an energy advantage, and then we could just sweep up the rest of the team either with Frostlass in the back, because Frostlass just is one of the strongest Pokemon in this cup, spoiler alert, and in case we didn't have to face a Frostlass on the opponent's team, then we could bring in our Noctowl, which is actually a lot safer against a lot of the ghost types in this meta, because, you know, ghost types, they may resist normal type attacks, but they don't resist flying type attacks, so like that's why Noctowl is incredibly good. I mean, so why don't we get into the first battle? Why don't we see who we're gonna face? Let's go in with this strategy here. Let's do this. So for this first match here, we're going up against Jesus Cheetos, and what do you guys notice about his team right away? Snorlax, Alolan Raticate, Munchlax, Banette, Alolan Marowak, and Dunsparce. All of these Pokemon are incredibly positive matchups for that Furret. And the thing is that I don't see a Frostlass on his team either. So we're going to run our standard team here of Furret, Vigoroth, and Noctowl. Let's see how we do. So we get the Banette lead, so I am just giggling at this point because I'm like, this is a really good matchup for us, and look at that. Even though it's not a stab type move, it's still going to do a ton of damage to that Banette, and Banette will get a Shadow Ball, but we can resist those, thankfully. We can send in another charge move against this Munchlax right away, and we've got another one prepared for this Munchlax. He didn't shield that first one, he didn't shield the second one either, so we decide to get our Furret out of there because we know he has the Banette. We send in the Noctowl, sorry about that, to counter this Munchlax, because Munchlax is not going to be able to do very effective damage with those licks. And even though Munchlax will get to a couple body slams and we will have to expend one of our shields here, we're still going to be able to take it out. So we're already looking really good for this. He's going to send in the Banette, but we've got that Sky attack. and we're going to make him burn that last shield, and we've got another one because we've been banking that energy because we knew that that Munchlax wasn't going to be able to do anything against us. And now he's got the Dunsparce in there, and we'll just be able to throw sky attacks until we take this thing out. We've got one more shield, and we're going to shield this. We've got that sky attack in the back. Actually, we decided not to shield it for whatever reason. I thought I was going to shield it, but I decided to just let it go down, save the shield for something else like Vigoroth, apparently. And that's game 1. Alright, exact same strategy. Let's rock and roll. Alright, this time he sends in the Munchlax, and the thing is that this is still a positive matchup. We know we can get to those brick breaks a lot faster than he can get to those body slams. I mean, Lick is a fast move, but it's not the fastest charging move, and he does match us pretty well in terms of damage, but we decide to get our Furret out of there because I don't know what he has in the back, and I'm glad I got the Furret out because he's got the Alolan Marowak. We're going to go for the Bulldoze right away, and we get it! We actually fool him into thinking that it was going to be a body slam, so he doesn't shield the Bulldoze. He sends in the Bone Club, but that's not going to do very much at all, and now we can just pressure him with body slams and make him burn those shields. And the thing is that he's just not going to do that much damage with either Shadow Ball or the Bone Club. So, I mean, even though Marowak is a counter in this meta, he's just not an incredibly hard counter. And we can take him out, no problem. We've still got 2 shields, all 3 of our Pokemon, and he's got a Snorlax in the back. This is going to be easy pickings for that Vigoroth. We're going to throw up a shield here because we're not quite sure what this is. I mean, I know that Snorlax has some powerful moves, but we just send in the next body slam, we make him burn that next shield, and we're just going to farm this up so that we can send in the Bulldoze on whatever comes in next. It's going to be that Munchlax, and he's going down. So that Furret lead once again allows us to just dominate this match, and we take both games. We go 2-0, and that's the first game. GG's to Jesus Cheetos, but like, I'm sorry, man. Like, my Furret just had your number on your team. Like, it's just one of those things. Like I said, nobody was talking about it, and I'm sorry you had to be the test bed for my team to just get wrecked. I'm sorry, man, but like, just that's why that meta analysis, that custom moveset rankings is so important when you're doing custom metas and when you as a player are looking at those metas just from a participant's perspective. Alright, so for my next match, we are up against Zoroark, and as you can see, he's got the Vigoroth, he's got the Delcatty, and he's got the Spiritomb. Now we know that most of these matchups, except for Vigoroth, are going to be positive matchups for Furret, and even that Drifblim is not going to want to see that Furret. The same thing goes with the Alolan Raticate, so once again we're sticking with this strategy, but we decided to go Frostlass this time, and I don't know why I decided to go Frostlass. I decided because he does not have his own Frostlass, and because I thought he might bring in the Noctowl, then I thought Frostlass was going to be a more positive matchup for this. So let's see how this one does. Alright, so we get the Delcatty lead, and thanks to our simulations, we know how this goes. We're going to be able to apply pressure with an early Brick Break, and he's not going to shield that, so he's going to take some damage, and all of a sudden he realizes that he's in a bad spot, but we've got a Brick Break saved up for that Vigoroth, and we can chunk down the damage before our Vigoroth has to come in. We're going to expend a shield, and we are trying to overcharge here. I think we were just going for the whole, but I make a mistake here. I should have shielded that. I saved up a lot of energy. I should have just committed the last shield if I was going to blitz the enemy with body slams. So that was a bit of a mistake, but we send in the Frostlass against this Spiritomb. We figured this is going to be our best shot. Those crunches are going to do some really good damage to that Spiritomb, but he's still got a shield left, so obviously he's going to shield this next one, and we decide to switch out into Furret, thinking that, you know, maybe we can have a better matchup and maybe soak some of his ghost type charge moves, but we just don't do enough with Furret. In this case, it just wasn't the right time to switch in, and we come into another ominous wind, and we're actually going to lose that first game. But there were some really bad mistakes that I made there. You know, I should have shielded certain Pokemon. I could have switched at better times, but I do make an adjustment here, and we're going to turn this thing around for us a little bit. So for this next match, I made a realization that if he doesn't have the Frostlass on his team, then maybe I shouldn't be bringing my own Frostlass. Maybe I should just bring in my Noctowl, because since there is nothing to threaten my Noctowl, he's going to be a lot better in a lot of situations. So let's try this out. Alright, so he comes in with the Spiritomb lead, and this is a little bit tough for Furret, but we're going to be able to do some damage here. He actually gets to the charge move first, and I figure I'm not going to shield it. I'm going to be able to resist every single charge move he has to offer, and he does not shield that Brick Break. He's not falling for it, but we can kind of stay even with him on HP, as you can see, and we're just building up. We're going to see if we can actually hit him with the Dig this time, figuring that he's not shielding, and we hit him with the Dig! It is revenge of the Dig today. Like, it is tired of being told that it is a bad charge move. You know, but he sends in the Delcatty, he goes down, but now we're at a really good spot, because we can just send in our Vigoroth against his Vigoroth, and he's down one shield, so this is not going to be a winning situation for him. All we're going to have to do is commit one shield, and we're just going to farm this Vigoroth, save that energy for that Delcatty. We're going to try the Bulldoze to see if he decides to shield, and he does, but you know what? The counters are still going to do a lot of damage despite that fairy typing, and we're going to send in the Noctowl here, because I think that's all we have left. But Noctowl is just so tanky that even with the charms, like, Noctowl just has the beef to be able to handle that, and we take down the Delcatty and we win the second game. Can we turn this around? Can we turn this into a victory for us? Alright, third game, same team. I figured we won with it last time. We could win with it this time. Let's see how we do. Alright, I send in the Furret, and he sends in the Drifblim! And at this point, like, I was just giggling over here. I was just like, hallelujah, like, this is my birthday today. Like, it is my birthday. Because, like, look at how much damage we're able to do, and the thing is, Drifblim is going to be able to hit us with some charge moves like Icy Wind, and in this case, Ominous Wind. And I do make a couple of mistakes here, because I end up shielding the Ominous Wind and not shielding the two Icy Winds that hit me early on, and if I would have shielded in any other way, that would have been more advantageous for us. But I figure what we can do is go for the Dig right away on this Vigoroth, and he doesn't shield the Dig. He was figuring that, you know, he could survive at least one Brick Break, but the Dig is pretty strong, and this puts us in a great position to take advantage of his Vigoroth. Again, just farm him down, and against the Spiritomb, we're going to try to send in the Bulldoze here, and he does have a shield left. He's going to block it, but we're going to have the Noctowl, and again, the Noctowl is a normal type, so he's going to be able to resist all of Spiritomb's charge moves. So we'll just be able to send in the Sky attacks, which are actually pretty quick. We're going to get the last shield because, you know, he's going to have to spend a shield. And again, we're not even going to shield this other Ominous Wind. Just keep sending in those Sky attacks, and even though Spiritomb is tanky, he's not that tanky. And the changes we made won us the second game, so we are officially 2-0 for this tournament. We have not lost yet. So let's go and tackle our next opponent, and let's see what challenges they have to offer. By the way, GG's to Zorocast. That was very well played. You did take a game off of me at the beginning, so I was starting to sweat there a little bit. I was starting to question the Furret strategy, you know, and you kept me on my toes. You made me realize that this isn't going to be an easy of a thing as I thought it was going to be. So like I said, once again, GG's to Zorocast. Alright, so my next opponent is Carlos Duty, and his team guess what? There it is. Finally, I'm going to be facing the Frostlass. He's got the Alolan Raticate and the Haunter. Again, Furret is going to be a hard counter to that Haunter. It's also going to counter the Munchlax, as we know already. We're already confident in that pick. But I decide, since he has the Frostlass in his team, I'm going to be bringing my own Frostlass, swapping out that Noctowl. Let's see how we do against Carlos Duty. Alright, so we get the Alolan Raticate lead. This is really good for us. He is not going to be expecting this. So we're able to send in a Brick Break pretty quick, even though the bites are doing some good damage, and he does not shield that. Do you see how much damage that took off? Come on. So he sends in the Hyper Fang, which was a good call, but we are going to get to the Brick Break once again, and he's not going to shield that. He's going to let the Raticate go down, and Furret does his job. So I am super proud of Furret, even though he is dead at the moment, and we bring in our own Vigoroth in order to deal with his Vigoroth. We did get a little bit of damage on his Vigoroth, I think, with the fast attack from Furret, but this is going to be pretty close. I figure I'm just going to use up my shields here. Even though I'm going to be at a shield disadvantage, he's going to have to let this guy go down or shield it, and he makes the mistake of shielding it. Now, this is going to be something that I'm going to talk about in a later match. That was a crucial mistake for him. He should have let the Vigoroth go down in this instance. But in this case, he has the Noctowl left, and we have the Frostlass, and we are just going to be able to shred through that Noctowl. But can we survive? Yes, we do! We survive the Sky attack, and we manage to take game 1. Alright, second game, same strategy. Once again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Let's see how we do. Alright, and this time we get the Haunter lead. So, like, we have a little bit of lag, but, like, I am just giggling here because I know this is a really good matchup for us, and I figure we're not going to shield this first attack, but it's a Sludge Bomb. Wow, did he ever get to that Sludge Bomb quick. That was just crazy. We try to send in the Brick Break because I figure at this point Furret is going to be going down. We see if we can get a shield, and we can't. We almost kill that Haunter, so we'll be able to take it out with one shot with basically anything. And now we have just a little bit of stored energy on that Vigoroth to be able to just outspeed the opponent's Vigoroth. We're going to pressure that first shield. And we're just going to match him on shields at this point. So, like, we figure if he spends one, we're going to spend one. So we're going to send in another Body Slam. We get the second shield, and I figure, do we throw up our shield? Yes, we do in this case. And we're going to get to another Body Slam that's going to finish him off. So that put us in a very good position once again. And the Alolan Raticate comes in, and we do a lot of damage with those counters, but keep in mind, like, this is not a situation that we want to see. The crunch is just going to hurt, but Avalanche is stronger, and this is why Frostlass was so good in this cup. Actually, did he even have Bite? It looked like he was attacking fairly slowly, and I don't know if he actually had Bite on his Alolan Raticate. He might have been having Quick Attack. Like, Carlos Duty, come on, you gotta put Quick Attack on your Alolan Raticate. But still, GG's, like, you still played really well, and we take the third game. So far, our Furret is unstoppable. Can we win this last one against our next opponent, who happens to be Isaac Fulton, who is one of the top ranked players in the Totodile group? I haven't had a chance to battle this guy yet, and let me tell you, I was absolutely terrified to battle this guy. I knew that he was serious business. I knew that he didn't fool around. Like, he was only like a little ways from being an ace trainer at the end of the first season. Like, I mean, his challenger ranking bar was like 90% full, so, like, I mean, he was definitely somebody that I was fearing going into this last match, and I have to update his team on the side because this was not his team, so give me a second. But as you can see, there are some Pokemon that Furret does have some positive matchups against on his team, like that Alolan Raticate, and the Alolan Marowak, and the Del Caddy. So once again, we're going to go with the exact same lead. We're going to see if he calls this, if he brings in like the Magic 3 Pokemon, that could take us out, which, by the way, I did some simulations on this. Vigoroth, Noctowl, and Frostlass is still a real problem for this team, and that was the one thing I was fearing this whole tournament. Is he going to bring it in? Is he going to outplay me? What's going to happen here? We'll find out. Alright, so we get the Alolan Raticate lead. This is really good for us. We're going to be able to take him by surprise with those Brick Breaks. But as you can see, we are taking just a ton more damage from that Alolan Raticate, and that's because his has Bite, but we decide to overcharge and get 2 Brick Breaks right away, and all of a sudden he realizes he's got to shield those if he wants to live. So we're going to shield this Crunch, and he's going to get his Alolan Raticate out of there. We decide that we're just close enough to a Brick Break to send one in against the Vigoroth. Now we decide to swap out our Furret, thinking that we can save that for whatever comes in later, but he's really low health. That being said, we do send in our Vigoroth against his. We get some body slams off, and we don't shield that last one, but he lets his Vigoroth go down, and we're going to be able to apply some pressure, throw this last shield out on this Frostlass, but he doesn't even have to shield his Frostlass. And what we don't know about his Frostlass is that with one shield and a ton of banked energy, he's just going to be able to steamroll our team. I'm expecting Crunch. He wipes us out with the Shadow Ball, and then he immediately wipes us out with an Avalanche, and ouch! Ouch. So for the first time in this tournament, I am just feeling just like, wow, there might be a serious weakness in my team that I didn't see. I mean, I thought that we both had Vigoroth, we both had Frostlass, we both I had the Furret to counter his Alolan Raticate. So what went wrong? Maybe it was just the way I played it, right? So what can we do in this next game? Because I'm going to be sending in the same lead, but what can we do to play it any differently? Can we play it any differently? So once again, I'm bringing the same lineup in here. I'm kind of banking on the fact that maybe he's going to think I'm altering my strategy since I lost that first one. You know, maybe he would think that I would change something about my lineup and that he would bring in something different as a result. So will that be the case? Will we be able to play this any differently? It's a whole thing, because once again I ran into problems in this tournament where I had to restart the final match of my tournament 3 or 4 or 5 times because of lag. There were times that he lagged out where he couldn't attack me and he was just wide open while I was just picking off his Pokemon one by one. There were times that I couldn't attack. There were times where I would go to have a charge move thrown at me, or I would get a charge move thrown at me, and it would give me a quarter of a second to shield, and then all of a sudden the charge move was hitting me. And so we ended up restarting this game a whole bunch of times. So what happened was, because I brought in this same lineup, we had been effectively seeing each other's lineups a whole bunch of times before that, 3-4 times. We weren't going to change. So again, it was the kind of thing where I'm not going to spoil it for you guys. I bring in the same lineup, and he brings in the same lineup. And, you know, we both know that, and I'm just thinking to myself, how can I play this differently? What can I do different? Am I going to be able to recognize my mistakes? Well, we'll find out. Alright, so, like I said, once again, Alolan Raticate comes in, and you can see from my screen that I am tapping that screen, and I am missing a lot of fast attacks. So even after all those restarts, I still wasn't able to get a decent connection that I would have called, you know, stable for a battle, you know, for a fair battle. But anyways, I end up taking a lot of damage as a result. We both expend a shield, and I'm going to get my Furret out of there, and unfortunately, because we were just exchanging these restarting over and over and over, I was just at the point where the nerves were really getting to me, and I end up playing this match almost exactly the same way as I play out the first match. I'm really sorry to disappoint you guys, but once again, I made a crucial mistake. Do you guys know what it was? I mean, look at how many shields are left here. This is going to be a learning moment for you guys. I'm not going to try to just say what's going on in the battle, but there was a crucial mistake that we made at that point. Do you see that? Like, I have nothing left for my Furret at this point. We're going to send in a Brick Break, but that's going to do nothing. And Frostlass even laughs at us. We even get the laughing animation. Boy, so what did we do wrong here? What happened in this battle that we can learn from? Well, the good thing about this guy is that he was really a class act, and he really gave me some good advice as far as what I could have done with my team, because I asked him, like, what could I have done to counter you? And in this case, he said that this shield was a mistake, that I should have let my Vigoroth go down in this case, because even though I'm going to be able to take out his Vigoroth, what he ended up telling me was that, like, Frostlass needed at least one shield. He says, if I would have saved at least one shield up for my Frostlass, then I knew I was going to be able to sweep up the rest of your team. And that was something that, you know, I really appreciated that feedback, because as you can see, like, now I've just got nothing, and, you know, nothing that I'm going to be able to throw at that Frostlass is going to be able to even really do that much damage. So, thank you so much for that analysis, Isaac Fulton. He was really, really a cool guy when it comes to that, but like I said, that was one of these things where I just needed the experience in this case. I just needed to have that practical battle experience and that knowledge, especially to know that in this case, like I said, I ran a lot of simulations. I did a lot of practice battles on PvP on the simulator before this battle, and I noticed that double shielding Frostlass in a lot of these matchups allowed him to just put out crazy amounts of damage against the opposing team. Whether or not you got Crunch or Shadow Ball or an Avalanche, Frostlass being able to put out so much damage and build up to those charge moves just so incredibly fast. That's why he let his Vigoroth go down, so he could save up to do exactly what we've been watching in slow motion here. So, like, you guys, that's just one of those things where I needed that experience. So GG's once again to, if I didn't say it already, to Isaac Fulton, because, like, he absolutely picked me apart. He had the battle experience to win that match. At least we get a Sinnoh Stone, right? And as a result, the winner of this tournament is Isaac Fulton, sweeping the competition, staying on the very, very, very top of every single round. As you can see, not even the Furret was able to beat a practiced player who understood what Pokemon needed to be shielded and what Pokemon were strong and able to put out a lot of damage. I mean, like, he actually admitted to me, though, that, like, that was an incredibly good team comp. He actually told me that he wouldn't have changed anything about the Furret lineup. So, you guys, I had the winning strategy for this tournament, and I wasn't really mad, I wasn't really disappointed, but, like, I put in just a ton of research, and as you can see from this list of participants, I was literally the only one who brought a Furret. Nobody else called out that Furret. Nobody decided to bring in one. Nobody noticed that about the custom rankings, and it really helped me to do well in this tournament. But but again, GG's all around to Isaac Fulton. That was very well played. Oh, and by the way, at this point, I would usually say something about a custom pillow that I made, but for this cup, I actually didn't make a custom pillow, obviously, because it was an online cup, but I did Photoshop this badge, this custom badge for the cup that you see below me, because that was something that Zombie Chew did not create for that, and I was bored one night and I thought, oh, I'll create a custom badge for the cup, and they ended up really liking it and they ended up using it. So I felt like in that way I was able to add a little something else to the tournament. Alright, and other than that, there's really not much else to say, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys liked the commentary, and I hope you guys really learned something about some strategy here. I really put just a ton of effort into this tournament, so like, if you could throw a like, if you liked what you see, subscribe. I'm going to have a lot more videos coming in the near future, and I'm going to be preparing for the upcoming Sinister Cup. So until then, take care, you guys. Love you all. Peace.